Linda Deer. Welcome to Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, a weekly gift of guidance from my spirit guides and angels on navigating the uncertain world that you are now living in. Published every Tuesday since 2014. Tonight's episode is about we are not a last resort. So, Ray, what do you have?
Well, if you're always getting guidance all the time, why do most people tend to ignore it?
Isn't that the truth? You know, it's easy to do that. And the reason that is because when the guidance comes through, it's never loud. In the world that you live in, this world, it screams at you, okay, to get your attention. That's how you're going to know the difference between what's happening in this world versus guidance that you're receiving. It's calm. It's gentle. It whispers to you. So you really have to want to hear it. The guidance always has a shelf life. It always has your best interest in mind, and it's unbiased. It tells you the truth, which also may be why you don't listen to it. Do you always like to hear the truth? Your guides always tell you the truth. They don't worry about you being able to handle the truth or not. Of course you can. But you know what you need to do with that guidance when it comes through? Because you're not used to paying attention to it, okay? Because it's so noisy in this world. The distractions in this world are overwhelming. What you must do so you stop missing the guidance that's always helping you and coming through is get my journal, My Guided Journey. And in part 3, where you do your journal entries, your daily journal entries, spend 15 minutes a day reaccounting what came through the day. What was out of the ordinary and unusual? What caught your attention? What was so different that day? Good or bad? Because you see, guidance doesn't think about what they convey to you as good or bad. It's just the truth. It's what is. And you have to write it down so you can begin to solidify that. You need to write it down so you can look back at what that is and go, oh, it doesn't feel like it felt the moment it came through, like it was inconvenient, or it felt, offensive, or it felt sad, or it felt whatever. Okay. It felt great, but I couldn't do it right now. Why did you tell me something I couldn't have right now? You won't understand how to digest the guidance until you begin to write it down. You're new at this. Okay. So that's what you need to do. Let me take a look at some of my notes here, because this is the insight. This is the insight right here. You would get this when you sign up from Linda's Weekly Guided Insights. You'll get this, and there's the rest of it right there. Okay. So there's a decent amount of information here, but it's not overwhelming. All right. They're not long-winded. They get right to the point. So when you receive this guidance, don't expect it to go blah, 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 blah. It's not like people. They come right through, bam, and hit you with a one-liner. Okay. So don't overthink the guidance. That's another thing about this. If you're overthinking the guidance, here's how they described it. You're not trusting your own judgment. And when you can't trust your own judgment, that's because you don't trust yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, it's because you don't know yourself. You might say, yes, I do. I know who I am. You really don't. And guidance always resides in the moment. So you receive the guidance, boom, you get this realization, you get this epiphany, you get this aha or this wow moment. It's like a dream. If you don't write it down when you wake up, you will forget it. It will dissipate. Many times, just at this time, people put their foot to the floor to go to the bathroom. They forget it. So you have to say it out loud. Say the guidance out loud 3 times. Say it out loud. You're driving your car. You can't sit there and write it down. Say it out loud. 1, 2, 3 times. Repeat it. And just tell yourself, I'm not going to forget that because I must write that down. Carry your journal with you everywhere you go. That's not extreme. You live in 2 worlds, this world and the world you came from, with all of your team, all of your guides, okay, your angels, the light beings. They all came with you into this life, all those who you're connected to from the before life, who you return to when you're released from this life, okay? So they haven't gone anywhere. It's you came here and were assigned your amnesia, and guess what? You forgot where you came from. You forgot about them. Okay. So this guidance is something you can always rely on, unlike people. Okay. So this life is not supposed to be hard. If you're not utilizing your guidance, if you're not connecting with your guidance and then writing it down and then reviewing what you wrote, then you're missing it. Okay. This is easy to do, you guys. You guys came in knowing how to do this. This is not new to you. Okay. So I want to talk about this one other thing. This is really interesting. And this is what I wrote about how it works. Ancient people used telepathy and dreams to receive this information, this guidance. This was their news feed. Okay, they didn't have technology and they didn't have radios and newspapers and the internet. Okay, this is how Native American Indians knew decades before their land was going to be invaded, that their way of life was coming to an end. They knew it decades before. There's certain people who were assigned to know. They were the knowers in the tribe, and they were tuned in perfectly to this guidance. And when they told their tribe what was about to happen, what was coming their way, they didn't reject them. They didn't try to hang them or shoot them or whatever. They depended on it. Their survival depended on it. It's time to rebuild your relationship with your higher self and your spirit guides and angels. See, what your guides do, what your spirit guides do, and your angels and the light beings, they come through your higher self. Your higher self is like the guard at the gate to make sure who's coming through to communicate with you, to guide you, are for real, are of the highest quality. Your higher self. You really need to connect with this higher self that you are. Okay? It's not only critical to your survival, but a missing part of your essence that no one else can fulfill. These guides know you better than anybody, including yourself. You're missing so much by not having this connection, by not making them a first resort instead of a last resort. Okay? So think about this and get my journal. If you haven't read or listened to Guided, get this first, because you'll see how this has worked throughout my life. And then when you work with your journal, My Guided Journey, and you go to part 3 and you start doing journal entries 1 time a day for 15 minutes a day, you're going to start to see how this guidance really works in your life and how you never want to make this a last resort. You need to make it a first resort. You'll notice that. You'll see that when you review what you wrote in your journal. day after day after day as it ties together like a storyboard. Okay? Yeah. And this is the guidance you're always receiving. It's free and it has your best interest at heart. Okay. So if my work has changed your life in any way, positive way, please tell your like-minded friends about what I do. Just have them go to my website and go to the homepage and they can get the idea about what I do and let them find their way through it, okay? And most importantly, my spirit guides and I love your comments, so keep them coming. Like always, the guides are going to close the session with their closing message about we are not a last resort. And here's Ray. And here we go.
When you have a problem to solve, take a look at the most obvious solution. Is it something you should do first, or wait until you try everything else that doesn't work? Does it seem to be too easy? Is it something you believe will not work? It's not that you have a lack of faith in that solution, but a lack of faith in your abilities to implement it. Listen to your intuition and move in that direction.
That's all there is to it. That's it, you guys. Okay. You have help. You are never alone and always being guided.